The reason you're struggling on defense so far in college football 27 is because you're not using a legitimate defensive scheme that can actually lock down every offense you face. Luckily for you, in this video, I'm breaking down the complete guide to the 4-2-5 man pressure defense that I used to go undefeated and win a national championship in my latest CFB season. You're not going to want to miss out any of the plays or defenses I break it down today, so let's jump right into it. Alright, there's a ton of new coaching adjustments here in college football 27 that you absolutely need to know what they do. Let me show you that first. Alright, so we come to our coaching adjustments here by pressing the right stick in. Alright, so there's a ton of new ones. Now, obviously, I'm going to go through a lot of these here, just breaking down what they do. Alright, defensive motion response, make sure this is on disabled. This makes sure that your guys don't realign in zone coverage. Although, you know, I tell you to put it on disabled, it doesn't really work like it's supposed to. I think EA needs to patch this because it's supposed, like, it sounds good, but they still do realign sometimes. So I'd recommend you put it on disabled, but just understand that there will still be times where you realign in zone coverage and you might need to move your guy back over. But this one does work. Cornerback matchups needs to be on balance if you're running zone. Now, man coverage is really good in this game, so if you run man, you want to put it on buy speed. But anytime you're running zone, or even if you're like alternating between the two, make sure you cornerback matchups on balance. All right, you want to make sure some of these don't really matter that much as far as stopping the run, but you want to make sure that you do have RPO pass key on conservative, because you want your defenders to focus on the pass on the RPO while you focus on the run and stopping it with your user. All right, then I mean, a lot of these you also want to make sure that you're using safety depth and width on default, unless you're trying to defend the seam and you're having a really hard time defending the seam. This is the kind of the go-to here. Ball hawk on aggressive, you want your defenders to be able to animate for the ball in the air. Zone strategy, I would leave this on default, but you're going to change this at the line of scrimmage sometimes. So sometimes you're going to need to change that. Plaster needs to be on aggressive so that you can lock onto receivers when the quarterback rolls out, because I have my plaster trigger on out of pocket. You want to make sure that you're not giving up a ton of route bounces, and so that's what plaster trigger on aggressive and out of pocket does. When the quarterback rolls out, you lock on play man coverage, and that's going to help you defend like playmaker and a lot of those route bounces. Zone drops, these depend on the situation that you're playing in on defense, although here in this game, I'm going to be using macros to set my zone drops, so I just leave it on default and then let the macro kind of change the zone drops depending on what macro I'm doing, all right? And also you need to have default on if you're running match coverage, unless you're going to macro into a match coverage play. But these are really important. Man coverage check for bunch is on point combo. All right, this is one that I'm actually going to get on the field to break down here because this is new and it's very important for those of you guys that want to run man coverage. So obviously I have to be in a bunch formation for this to work. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, man coverage is really good in this game. So what you're going to see right here is we have it set to point combo. So if they call a route concept like this, where they put their tight end on an out route and they put their slot or their outside bunch receiver on a drag. In previous years, this would be an easy dot because someone would bump and then it would just be an easy dot on the outside. But here in this game, basically what happens with point combo is the inside defender takes the guy who runs inside, right? So actually, really, I should start with he locks onto this guy, right? So he's going to lock onto the point man. Boom. Easy. Good defense. And then if whichever one of these two guys, 81 or number 5, whichever one goes inside, this inside safety is guarding. And it ends up being that guy, the outside bunch receiver. So he takes him, and that leaves this tight end for the outside corner right there. So overall, this is going to prevent all that bumping that can happen here. Also, what I know happens for so many of you guys is you call man coverages where the safety is manned up on the tight end across the field. And this was something I've been taking advantage of for so many years here in this game, is when their defense is misaligned, whether they flip or anything like that, you used to just be able to put him on an out route or put him on a flat and it would be an easy completion because the guy's manned up from across the field. But now what's going to happen is the outside guy's going to take the outside corner's going to take the outside guy and he's going to take the inside receiver running the drag. Now still understand that you're running man coverage, so it's like, I'm not saying this is going to lock down everything, it's just going to prevent all this bumping, because you still do notice how he just has poor leverage here and lets the guy cross his face. So it's like, it's just going to help you defend those misalignment plays where you're really trying to, or you're getting beat because they just beat you out of the flat. But overall, I mean, it's just really going to help you, especially with common plays like this, where they just are going to try to get bumping to happen because they're in a bunch formation, and so you're going to very easily be able to lock it down, and you see how he does a much better job of breaking that pass up because he's already standing there. So those are really the best new defensive settings. There's more that I could break down in future videos, so make sure, obviously, you're subscribed so you see them, but those are the ones that we're breaking down today. Alright, so the run game is really overpowered here in College Football 27 right now, and so if you can't stop the run, you don't have good run defense, you're going to be totally lost. Let me show you the best automatic run defense here in CFB 27. Alright, so like I just mentioned, the run game really good in this game, but there's going to be some ways that we're going to stop it. So I'm actually going to call it just an inside zone run. I'm actually in the 4-2-5 man pressure defensive playbook, obviously, but we are going to come into our play here from dime 3-2, and it's going to be cover 4 quarters. Alright, so this was really great automatic run defense in previous years, last year, where you could just stand inside the butt of this D tackle right here and be able to just walk in the backfield every single time. But you notice how in this game, they're going to block you. So that safety is going to block you, or excuse me, that lineman's going to block you here, and you're going to, I mean, you're just not going to be able to stop the run. Like, this is going to be barbecue chicken for them. Easy yards on the ground. So you can't do that. And honestly, a lot of the other run defense where you're just standing inside the D tackle, they're not going to work. But what you can do from this is you're going to stand inside the D tackle here, and then you're going to blitz your linebacker on the other side. So now it's going to look something like this, because what's going to happen is you're going to get the attention of the offensive line, and that's going to allow for number 7 right there to walk in free. He needs to basically be standing exactly where he is right now, because you don't want him too close and you don't want him too far back. But where he is perfect because he's going to fly down. And I feel like EA overcorrected the offensive line here, because now all 3 of these guys are looking to block basically 2 players. And so that makes it really easy for him to just fly in free. Now, if he's slow, if he's like really slow, he's going to get caught by the lineman, because you see he just barely gets by him before the lineman actually blocks him. So it's like, it's not going to, I'm not, like in previous years, this was like 10 times out of 10 a stop. Now I'd probably say it's like 8 or 9 times out of 10, because there will be times where he does get blocked, but it's still very consistent for you to be able to stop the run. So again, stand inside the butt of the D tackle like this, right? And then you're going to just blitz that inside linebacker. And now you're going to see where he just comes in free and he stops the run every single time for you. So that's going to be great against a lot of inside runs, right? If you have the alignment correct, and then you also have the correct player here. But also, I talked about this yesterday, where gap shooting is also a really great way to stop the run here in this game. To try to shoot a gap. I mean, it takes more practice. It's just harder in this game because of how good the line is. But if you call like any 5-down lineman set, you stand 4 yards over the guard on the halfback side, and then you loop around, you're able to try to cut out the legs of the ball carrier. Now, I'd recommend that you have Heat Seeker on 200%. Just so that you can get better suction tackles, but either you're going to dive tackle the ball carrier, or you're going to make it to where he has to cut back into your other defender. So we take it, we're going to loop around right here, and that's what I'm talking about. If you get caught on a lineman, you're going to get destroyed in this game, especially when you have a safety at linebacker. So really make sure that you're working on this, looping around, and then if he does cut back, you're reading the play. You can't always loop around, because sometimes I mean, this is a computer, but it's like sometimes their user won't go all the way out. They'll like cut it back. So you really have to kind of read the play, read the look that you're getting, and then come up and make the tackle. So I'm holding 2 controllers a little bit harder. I think I got it the first time, but whether you're using the automatic run defense from like dime 3-2, or you're really working on gap shooting by looping around the offensive line and making that play, it's really going to be effective for you. But understand the run is going to be good in this game, and because the line blocking is much improved. Alright, so if you're enjoying this defensive breakdown so far of the 4-2-5 man pressure defense, I have so much more coming later in the video, but make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss out on any of the tips and tricks and defenses I break it down every single day. So what are you thinking? Go down below, hit that subscribe button. But if you're serious about transforming your defense here in CFB 27, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join CFB University, where you can get your first month for 20% off. It has that 425 defensive ebook, and it has updated meta tips. They're going to help you hit the ground running from the moment you start playing CFE 27. Highly recommend you check it out if you're tired of losing games, want to start dominating, and let's jump right back into the video. Because next I want to break down the best macro adjustments you need to be using here for this 425 man pressure defense. Let me show you. Alright, so I talked about this in yesterday's video, but we come into create and share, we come into custom adjustments, and you're basically able to create 10 adjustments and then have 10 benched adjustments here. Alright, and so really what that means is the one I'm going to break down here is going to be the overload blitz. So I'm going to route commit inside by pressing A or X here on this inside. I'm going to guess pass. Right, and then some of these other ones here, I'm about to show you how this looks on the field, but I'm going to shift my D-line left, right, and I'm going to, what else here, I have my cornerback depth of 9, my safety depth of 9, right, so like basically you're just coding a defense. You have your curl flats on 5 yards, right, and so really, and then I have my man cover check on point combo for bunch, which is something I think I talked about earlier in this video, right? So it's like, even if you forget to set it in your settings, this macro is going to allow you to do that. So I think those are all the ones that I have for this one, and then we're also going to be breaking down RPO defense here. But it's like, those are the macros that I'm actually using here, and I'm going to show you how to use them. All right, so like I said, the first one that we're going to utilize here is going to be from my code 0, and we're going to use the overload blitz macro. All right, so I'm going to press LB, and then I'm going to press A. Or what you can do is just hold down the play call button. Like if I knew I wanted to call this before I even saw their formation or their alignment, if I knew I wanted to call this, I could just hold down the play call button and then hold down X and then release it. And now I'm on overload blitz. And so now you see I already came out in it. I already came out in the defense that I want. The D-line's already shifted to the left. There's already a curl flat here. My corners are already where they need to be. We're already route committed. We already have the right checks. We're already pass committed. Like, there's so many things that is already done for me, and this is going to save you guys so much time for like newer players or who aren't good with quick adjustments, because you can basically set up entire defenses really by not doing anything. Now, this is a very simple macro. There's much more complicated ones that obviously I break down the defensive ebook, because this one isn't that bad to set up. Like if I reset my play, all I have to do is shift my D-line and drop this guy into a curl flat and pass commit. So that's not that many button presses, but especially when you get into setups that are like 9, 10, 11. Sometimes I even saw a setup that I did yesterday in 26 that was like 25 button presses, where now you're able to do that in only 2 or sometimes 0. But what you're going to see right here, this is going to be a great overload blitz for us, because what's going to happen is we're just going to stand right here, take the snap, and we're going to be able to get that quick pressure while being back into coverage. Now, something else that I talked about earlier in the video is how good man coverage is. So it's like you can really just run this time and time again and really bank on your pressure. Sometimes you walk in free. Sometimes, the blitz doesn't necessarily come in every single time, but we already have our macro set up. We're already standing in the right spot. And so if we just, we could just press. So you could press your defense. Like I said, you can play really great man coverage in this game, but we stand in the right spot. We're going to have them just use, pass protection here, take the snap, and now you're able to see how we fly in completely untouched, and I'm back over on the sideline by D-pad switch sticking to defend that wheel route. So this is going to be a really great kind of macro for you to use, because it's an easy blitz setup that you can just go to and then start locking down with. But another one that I want to show you here, another macro that you need to make sure you're using, is RPO defense, because that's going to be especially important when you're in the red zone. So we're going to have them call just a regular RPO right here. We'll just go RPO read wide flat from trips tight end. So this macro is going to be from cover 3 buzz, and I'm going to hold the play call button, and I'm going to set up RPOD. And so this macro basically puts your safeties at 5 yards. It shades your coverage down, puts it on aggressive, and then it pass commits your defense. That's a bunch of button presses that you don't have to make. So the only thing you actually need to do is man up who you think's getting the ball. So I'm gonna press L, or I'm gonna press Y, then press, I think that would be LB. So Y, then LB, and then I'm gonna press X, because now I want to man up the inside trips receiver. So that's only 3 button presses instead of having to, let's see how many this one would be. Right, so I'm gonna reset my play. I would have to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9. So it would be like 9 button presses to be able to set up RPO defense in previous years, but now you're able to do it with like only 3. So now we're easily able to defend that RPO. I mean, that's perfect defense. He just whiffs on the ball. Ridiculous, but you're just able to see how much easier this is going to be to stop these RPOs. So something you need to understand is every time they drive the ball into the red zone, you need to be ready to defend the RPO. So set up RPO defense, and now it makes it a whole lot faster. So Y, L, B, X. And now we're good to go as far as stopping the RPO. And so then all I have to do is really make sure that I'm looping around to stop this RPO run just like that in the backfield because they can't pass. So custom adjustment macros, those are 2 of my favorite ones to use here from this 4-2-5 defensive playbook. Being able to blitz them, very important situation, and being able to set up RPO defense where all you have to do basically is man up who you think's going to be getting the ball on the RPO, and then you're going to be good to go. Alright, so if you're enjoying this breakdown of the 4-2-5 man pressure defense here in CFB 27, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down college football 27 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But let's jump into those final 2 tips. Because next I want to break down a highly awaited glitch blitz for you to be able to utilize from this defensive playbook that's super quick. Let me show you. Alright, so we're going to come into 4-3 even 6-1, and our play here is going to be Sam Will Blitz. Alright, what you want to do for this is you are going to take this linebacker, and it's funny because the macro that I just showed you, overload blitz, is actually going to help you here in this. So you're going to just press LB or L1 and then press A or X to call your overload blitz, which now what's going to happen is it's not going to put your guy in a curl flat. This one doesn't cover that, but what it does is shift your D-line to the left. So now you can shift your defensive line to the left, and all you really need to do is blitz your user, and drop this guy into a curl flat. So now you're good to go. And then if you want, you don't actually need to blitz this D tackle. So you could really just put him in a hook like this. So you only really need to send 4 people. But just make sure you're standing in the right spot. The reason why I like this one a little bit more, maybe specifically for the blitz than 3-3 Cub, is because these 3 defensive linemen over here on the left, they're wider. They're more to the left than even in Cub. So you normally just get better blitz angles. But it's the same technique as far as utilizing the D-pad switch stick. Now notice how the running back's not manned up here, so maybe you do want to man up the running back or instead of putting him in a curl flat. Really going to be up to you depending on the formation that you're playing against. But now we're just going to go ahead, stand right here, boom, take the snap, D-pad switch stick onto this guy, and now you're able to see how we're going to get that guy just flying in free off of that edge. So using the macro is going to save you an extra adjustment there, like 2 extra button presses, and then you're going to be good to go. Now, understand that you have a defensive lineman here in coverage, so if you want to, you can like substitute and put like a Mike or a Will here, and so then you have a guy who's kind of more adept to actually, be in pass defense, animate for the ball. But it's like, regardless, you have a really great blitz, so it's really not going to be the end of the world for you, even if you don't. But again, man up the running back here, drop this guy into some sort of zone, whether that's a hook, whether that's a curl flat, and now you're just going to press RB and right stick up to pass commit, which you really don't even have to do that because that's already built into the macro. So once you understand what adjustments are already built into your macro, you don't have to waste button presses actually doing it. But we're going to stand again right here in the right spot, about 2 yards over the left shoulder of the center, and then boom, take the snap, D-pad switch stick, and we're able to get our guy to fly in free off of the edge, while our man coverage, if you choose to run man, is going to be really sticky on the back end. But using that macro is going to make this a lot better. And then even if they block their running back now, really what that does for you is you can just set up the same macro. That gives you an extra guy. So now you could put that guy into a curl flat because he doesn't need to be manned up on the running back. And so now the running back's he's going to give them an extra guy in pass protection, right? So what you're just going to see right here is, let's see, so I have the blitz set up just like this. Boom, take it, immediately press deep out of the right. But you notice how, especially if you have quick jump, you're able to get off the ball really quickly, and the running back is going to struggle with the point of attack because he's trying to block an edge rusher, right? He slides over, he bumps, and then it's really bad. Also understand that pocket presence is really important on offense this year. The game will automatically drop you back in the pocket, so it's really important that for an offensive player that they step up, and most people aren't, which is just going to make your blitzes that much better. But that's Sam Will blitz here from 4-3 even 6-1, a great glitch blitz for you to utilize. The reality, though, is you have to be able to stop people in the red zone and force them to kick field goals. I've literally won games where my offense wasn't great, but we got 3 straight red zone stands, 0 points, and 3 red zone trips for my opponent, and that's how we were able to win the game. So if you want that for you, make sure you listen to this tip. Alright, so we're talking about red zone defense. I'm going to put them in a random pass play right here, and it's all the same. It's just depending on the formation. So what I like to do is just come to Tampa 2 from 3-3 Cub. I'm going to put my coverage on aggressive. So you can either do that in the play call menu, right, where you go into your coaching adjustments and put your zone strategy on aggressive, or you can just do it at the line of scrimmage. But regardless, you want to make sure your zone strategy on aggressive. Now, you do not want to have deep zones on the field when you're this close to the end zone. I'm talking about short pass defense here. I already showed you run defense and RPO defense in this video, and so those are really the first 2 things that you need to master here, making sure you can stop the RPO, making sure you can stop the run when they're in the red zone. But the third phase of it is going to be defending the pass when they eventually do drop back pass. But what you're going to see right here is we're going to man up the 2 biggest passing threats who we think could be getting the ball. We're going to man those guys up with our safety. So I'm going to press Y, LB, X, because I'm going to man up this X receiver. Or maybe I would man up Y, or excuse me, man up RB, I guess. Right, so I'm going to man up their point man. And then I'm going to take my other safety and man up their tight end. So now who I think could be getting the ball, their 2 biggest threats on like crossers, slants are taken away. And then I could also route commit inside because they're pretty much guaranteed to be running an in-breaking route. So now I have their 2 biggest passing threats manned up. And then I also have flats and hooks. So really everything should be taken away. And this is the best way to defend in the red zone, because now we're going to take the snap, they're going to shift. So now when they shift, this is actually still going to be pretty good defense, right? Because now they have, we have a guy cross man, and we're going to be good to go. So, like, this is perfect. All I had to do was guard X, and everything was taken away. We had a hook on the field to take away their sit route. We had their 2 guys manned up to take away those routes, and then I just see this crosser breaking open behind the play, and so then we take this away too, right? So this is going to be really great kind of short pass red zone defense here for you. Again, this is a different formation, so now I'm going to take my top safety, man him up onto their slot receiver. I'm going to take the other safety and cross man him onto the tight end like this. And so now, again, I just have to make sure that I'm standing over the middle of the field here to be able to defend this, where they're going to shift again, which this is going to be pretty common for you to face here in this game. But we're going to take the snap, and this might just be a touch pass. Yeah, and so you just have to make sure you're trying to set the edge here. When you see that guy come in motion, those plays can be really good in the red zone, so just make sure you're taking those away. But right here, they're in trips. So this is a little bit different. Right here, I'd walk this guy over, because I want to be able to match their passing strength. So I'm going to man up their inside receiver. I'm going to man up their slot receiver. And then I might even take my linebacker and man up their tight end, just like this. So I might have 3 guys manned up and then route commit inside. So now we're going to take this snap, and we just have to defend the running back. And they're completely guarded because their 3 receivers are manned up. So that's the concept with red zone defense. Once you stop the run, or really once you stop RPOs, they're going to have to run. Then when you stop the run, they're going to end up having to throw short passes like this. And then once you know who to man up, you know where to be with your user. You see how you're basically running these routes for all these receivers, completely taking them away. And then you're over the middle of the field as well with your user. But stopping red zone offense is going to be really important for you, which is why you need to master that. Alright, so if you found that breakdown helpful of the 4-2-5 defense here in College Football 27, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be breaking down College Football 27 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But again, if you want my full 4-2-5 defensive ebook plus all my updated meta tips all throughout the year, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join CFB University, where you can get your first month for 20% off by using code YouTube at checkout. Everything goes to the full videos, screenshots, write-ups, macro adjustments you need to be using to start locking down a defense from day one, and I highly recommend you check it out. But if you want to see 5 more tips to help your defense here in CFB 27, check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. Peace.